Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Burns. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about tribal issues in emergency management. So, to start off, my objectives for today are to provide a brief overview of the Native American tribal system in America, describe some of the issues and disasters that they commonly face, and also describe how FEMA and the tribes are working together to try and help them solve some of these issues. Uh, as you can see on this map, there are 566 federally recognized Native American tribes. These tribes are spread out over 56 million acres of land, and the majority of these tribes are located within the 5 states of Arizona, Montana, New Mexico, and North and South Dakota. These tribes have a government-to-government relationship with the United States. They are recognized as possessing certain inherent rights of self-government and are entitled to receive certain federal benefits, services, and protections because of their special relationship with the United States. So basically, the Native Americans who live within these lands, they govern themselves. They're responsible for their own education. Uh, so a lot of them have their own police forces and things of that nature. Traditionally, Native Americans held animistic views where they believed that all things in nature were alive and had a spirit. Uh, and the way that they articulated these views and basically practiced with their religion was through the use of storytelling. As you can see in the bottom left is a Native American elder telling a story to his children. Native Americans also believed that in order to remain prosperous and avoid disasters, they needed to give thanks to the spirits and maintain nature's blessing. And some of the ways that they did this was, through the use of charms or different rituals, such as you can see pictured in the bottom right, as a group of hunters doing the buffalo dance, which would provide them with good luck for their upcoming hunt. Today, what makes Native Americans so vulnerable to disasters are the fact that the majority of the tribal reservations are located in remote, desolate, and isolated rural areas. There are also high rates of poverty and unemployment within these reservations, and this has basically led to poor infrastructure. So many of the housing situations on many of the reservations include like trailers, rickety structures in general. Also, some of the smaller tribes aren't as organized as the bigger tribes, so they don't have any emergency response plans set in place, and their isolation makes it harder for them to receive relief and insurance during the recovery phase following a disaster or some other type of emergency. The most common types of disasters that Native Americans on tribal lands deal with on a regular basis are droughts, wildfires, floods, lightning storms, and tornadoes. Another problem that Native Americans are facing is not only with emergencies, but is with their way of life in general, due to the fact that droughts and climate changes have caused severe problems for them. Their diets are dependent on a variety of native fungi, plant, and animal species for various food, medicines, ceremonies, and economic health in general. There was also a great threat to their cultural heritage and artifacts because since these nations have the right to self-government, they're responsible for protecting their natural and cultural resources, just like our federal government protects our cultural resources, such as the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Um, these nations are in charge of protecting their their cultural artifacts, and hurricanes and tornadoes pose an extreme threat um, to these various structures. For example, in 2005, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, their damage was done to their Atatiki Museum after Hurricane Wilma hit it. Um, Fortunately enough, the Seminole Tribe is a larger tribe, and they have an emergency management department. And following that, they realized they needed a better plan to help uh, deal with damage to their museums and things of that nature. So they developed a new plan with a new incident command system, and they implemented training and regular drills, and all of their collections can now safely be evacuated within 24 hours. However, smaller tribes don't have, the luxury of having emergency management plans such as these, so um, they could potentially be lost forever or damaged severely during a storm if they're not taken into consideration. In order to help preserve tribal cultural artifacts and help Native American tribes with disaster recovery, a number of FEMA partnerships and initiatives have been created. Um, some of these initiatives include training for tribal representatives, which uh, is basically training courses designed by FEMA's Emergency Management Institute. These courses are tailored to tribal audiences, tribal emergency management, tribal community response personnel, and tribal leaders. Another initiative is the Tribal Homeland Security Grant Program. This program provides funding to Indian tribes to strengthen their capacity to prepare for and respond to emergency situations. There's also the Ready Indian County initiative, which the goal of this is to collaborate with tribal governments to ensure continued survival of tribal nations and communities through aiding them in building up their emergency management capabilities. And also, I think one of the biggest initiatives that was done was the amendment to the Stafford Act. It's actually done through the Sandy Recovery Improvement Act 2013. This amended the Stanford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act to provide federally recognized Indian tribal governments with the option to request a presidential emergency or major disaster declaration independently of the state. So before they amended this, the tribal leaders would have to get in touch with, state officials, and it was just a much longer process. Now they can directly reach out to the president themselves without the help of the state. So in order to receive assistance. Basically, to conclude, in order to help Native American tribes develop their emergency management capabilities, we need to continue to build a relationship of trust and cooperation with them, and make sure that we take their cultural values into consideration during the entire process. Uh, that's basically one of the big points that through all the FEMA initiatives was building through trust and cooperation um, in order to help the Native Americans. So I hope you all enjoyed my presentation, and thank you.